Hi, my name is Neil Kelleher. In this video I'll be discussing front to back splits. I'll go over a couple of techniques that I use to make moving into splits a little bit easier. I may also go over, include a quick tip at the end on side to side splits. But for front to back splits I'll go over two basic techniques. I switch between the two techniques depending on the way that I'm feeling and also depending on if I'm teaching on the level of experience in the room. Also note, I'm doing this from cold. I won't include any warm-up exercises in this video. I'm going to explain how I work towards going into splits without doing much of a warm-up. And I'm not suggesting that you just jump into splits, but do it mindfully. And hopefully I'll show you how I'll give you information on how to move into splits mindfully or work towards it even without doing a warm-up. And the actual warm-up is actually in the way that you move into front to back splits. Generally for people, when I'm teaching some of my students who have been with me for a while and they have a bit more experience and they know what they're doing, one of the first ways that we move into splits is maybe using blocks. Yoga blocks are very handy if you have them. But the idea is to have one leg forward, the other leg back, and to bend the front knee. And notice from my back leg, my back knee is pointing straight down rather than being turned out to the side. I generally have the top of my back foot flat on the floor. Some people like to have the toes tucked under. Do whichever you like, or do both options so that you can work towards both options easily. But anyway, you can start off hands on the block. Notice I'm not just sagging down. I'm pressing my hands down a little bit, creating some lift in my upper body. I'm actually trying to make my spine long by lifting my back ribs in particular. If you can't lift your back ribs, lift your front ribs. Move your ribs away from your pelvis so that your waist feels long. If you're focusing on your back ribs, move your back ribs away from your pelvis so the back of your waist is long. You can also do the same with your neck. Move your ears away from your rib cage so the sides of your neck are both long. And then from here, you can sink down. You can focus on your front leg first. Again, notice I have my front knee bent, and what I'm doing initially, I'm using my arm, I could use both arms to support the weight of my body, and then I'm gradually letting my body sink down. So I'm gradually letting my hips sink down while continuing to keep my waist and my neck long. And then what you could do from here, you can hold this for a few moments, just focusing on lengthening, keep your back knee pointing down. And what you may have to do, especially if you're not used to doing that, is come out of it after a few breaths, say half a minute to a minute, rest for a moment in kneeling, and then do the other side. Or you can repeat the same side. Start with the knee bent, back knee square, pointing down, hips square to the front, spine long, and let yourself sink down. And one idea that I like to work on when doing this is on the front leg to focus on widening the sit bone, pulling the sit bone outwards, at the same time pulling the front of the hip crest inwards. And you can focus on doing that. You can activate and then relax, so move the sit bone out, front of the hip crest in, so that's the activation, and then relax. And while you're doing that action, you can gently push the front foot forward, so you gently or smoothly starting to straighten the front knee. So now I'm relaxed, spine long, sitting bone out, hip crest in, pressing the front foot forward. And you notice as I press my front foot forward, because I'm a little bit sweaty, my back knee is actually sliding back. It doesn't matter, front foot can move forward or your back knee can move back, and then relax. So you can try repeating that action a few times and then come out and rest when you need to. So again, I'm doing this from cold, so it's taking me a little bit longer to move into splits. Some days I find it easy, some days it's a little bit tough. Some days I don't like it, but be aware that find these actions, find a way of focusing on your body so that you have that to focus on rather than the fact is, damn, I really want splits, but I'm not there yet. Look for the way to move towards splits. Now then, for the back leg, so again, I'm going to have the front knee bent, back knee bent as well. And notice with yoga blocks, it's fairly easy to keep torso upright, and you can change the height. So as I go down, I'm going to lower them like so, and then eventually go onto fingertips. Whatever you use, make sure your foundation, your supports are stable so you don't slide and hurt yourself. Now for the back leg, I'm going to do the opposite. Let's try like that. I'm going to move the front of the hip crest out and the sitting bone inwards, and I'm going to keep my knee pointing down. So I'm going to activate and then relax. Sitting bone in, hip crest out, activate and relax. And what you may find helps is if you focus, you could also focus on the inside edge of the back thigh. Try to pull the inner edge of your back thigh upwards. And one exercise I like to practice that is extended cat pose. You can point the knee down, and then to lift, bend your spine backwards, focus on pulling up on your inner thigh. And if you focus on pulling up on your inner thigh, your back knee should point down naturally. So then in cat pose, again, tilt your pelvis forward, so pubic bone back, sacrum forward, arch your back, arch the back of your thoracic spine, and then focus on pulling up on your inner thigh to pull the leg higher. You could also lengthen the back of your neck. Memorize that feeling and then try to find the same feeling in splits. So here again, front knee bend, sinking the hips down but reaching the ribs and head up away from your, reaching your ribs up away from your pelvis and your head up away from your rib cage. You can try pulling up on your back leg, inner thigh, and then again, you can try drawing the sitting bone in, the front of the hip crest outwards. And then if you like, once you've practiced both legs separately, you could try focus on the front leg, sitting bone out, hip crest in, press the front foot forward, and then focus on the back leg, sitting bone inwards, hip crest outwards, inner thigh up, and gradually work at going deeper like that. Now, so at a certain point, you may find that you get your front knee straight. And I'm going to go onto my fingertips here. Notice I'm keeping my fingertips strong, keeping my rib cage lifted. Once you get your knees straight, what you could focus on in a similar way that you're focused on pulling up on the back thigh, as you push your front foot forward, you could also try pulling up on your front leg to help the front leg go deeper. So simple action, pull up on the front leg, pull up on the back thigh, and then relax. I did that a bit suddenly. Pull up on the front thigh, pull up on the back leg, and then relax. And pull up on the front leg, pull up on the back leg, and then relax. And yeah, just do that again. Rib cage lifted, neck long, pull up on the front thigh, pull up on the back thigh, and then relax and touch down if you can. Now another action you can do, just as a note, when your pelvis actually gets down to the floor, you don't have to use your leg muscles to keep the pelvis lifted. And so what you may find is when you get your pelvis down to the floor, you can actually relax. But until you get to that point, what you could do, use some yoga blocks or a stack of books under your hips. So you can come to this position, lift both legs and then relax. And here you can actually relax. And as you get used to that, go a little bit deeper and so on. Actually, I'll keep these. Now another way that you can go into splits is more of an active version of splits, and it's based on the idea that what's preventing you going into splits is that your muscles are scared or they're not used to supporting your body as you go deeper. And so what you could practice is both legs straight. So right now my arms are supporting my body weight, and then what I could do, I could press my front foot down, I can press my back foot down. So now my legs are bearing my weight and I can take my hands off the floor. And if that's scary, what I'd suggest is practice relaxing your arms slowly, then press them down again. Activate your legs, relax your arms slowly, see if you can lift up, and then put your arms down again. Support yourself with your arms. Then press your legs down and see if you can lift your arms, hold for a few breaths, and then gradually put your arms down. So you're switching yourself between supporting yourself on your legs and supporting yourself on your arms. Then what you can do, and this might be over a few weeks or months, years of practice. So then what you can do, maybe you can hold yourself like this, relax your legs, go a little bit deeper, and then grip. If you need to, have the blocks for standby so you can use your arms to save yourself. So keep your legs contracted, then slowly release, go a little bit deeper, and then contract, stop yourself. Release a little bit, and then contract. Again, keep your spine long. Release and contract. Then when you've had enough, whoops, that's what I mean by being sure that your foundation is stable. But anyway, when you've had enough of that, or where you've reached the point of maximum scariness, like, okay, that's scary, I'm going to come out of it. Come out, take a rest for a minute, and then it sort of gives you time to reflect and say, well, that wasn't that bad. Maybe I can go a little bit deeper. So for me, so I'm going to do that on the other side now. Again, you could have a block underneath you, make that the aiming point, or you can just have the blocks for safety. Again, contract, and then release, contract, and then release, contract, and then release. And what I find is, it's around about this point where I think, oh my God, this is too much, I'm going to break. But then as soon as I feel the back of my calf touching down, that means I'm a little bit closer, and then from that point onwards it's a little bit easier just to relax that a little bit further to the point that my pelvis reaches the floor. So one more demo here. We'll see if this works or not. So I'll try this on this side, which is, I'm going through a process now where sometimes I find one leg's harder than the other, sometimes it's the other leg. You may find that or you may not. If you do have one leg that is traditionally harder, what I'd suggest is start with that leg, do the easier side, and then finish with the leg that is tougher. It's one possibility anyway. So anyway, squeeze, relax, squeeze, relax, nearly at my calf down, squeeze, and then relax, calf down a little bit safer. I've got the blocks for support, squeeze and then relax, squeeze and then relax, touchdown. So even here I'm a little bit off of the floor, can relax, breathe a few breaths, and then come out and rest. And I'd suggest the resting is very important, whatever, especially when you're doing deep stretches. Just gives you time to recover. You may find you either giggle or cry. I do a little bit of both. And I find it's the resting, you may get some endorphins or something that just feels good. You've gone to the edge and you've come back. And the resting is an important part of it to give you a sense of joy, or perhaps just to reflect on what you've done, give yourself a pat on the back. And if you rest in between, I think you'd be more likely to keep on doing the splits regularly, whether it's 3 times a week, 5 times a week, working it into your yoga practice regularly, or your stretching practice, so that you can gradually work towards getting your hips on the floor. Anyway, I think that's it for now. If you have any questions, please use the comment form. Also check out my website, sensationalyogaposes.com. Another resource you might be interested in is the hip control guide. Hopefully the links are probably on this side. Anyway, check them out. Namaste. Thank you very much.